My tank video did okay, but I can understand why it's not everyone's forte. So let's talk about airplanes. Hey everybody, it's me, Schluges here, and I'm back with another top 5. Yeah, I actually found out I kind of like doing these. So, well, I know everybody kind of wanted me to go into warships next, but I think that's kind of pretty obvious what my number one favorite World War II warship is, so maybe we'll save that for another video. So let's talk about airplanes, since I actually do like playing War Thunder a bit. So, yeah, we're going to talk about some airplanes for the next couple vids of my top 5s. And to make it simple on everybody, we're going to stick with World War II for right now. We could do some of the more modern stuff later, and I'm also going to make it very simple by category. So we're going to start off with fighters, and then we'll do stuff like medium bombers, maybe heavy fighters, and then we'll continue on after that. So, yeah, why don't we just get right into it and start it off? Number 5. Oh boy, I am really going to get some flack for this one. No pun intended. Yeah. This is the A6M0. And it is in my top 5 favorites. Now, before everybody jumps on my butt about, wait a minute, this fighter? Really? This fighter got its shit kicked in during World War II. It did, eventually. It took some time. So, yeah. The A6M is definitely well known for having its issues later in the war. But in the beginning, nothing could touch this fighter. It was an absolute badass monster of a plane. With its two 7.7mm machine guns in the nose cowling and two 20mm in the wing stops, this was a very heavily armed fighter for its time in the Pacific. And for its time, it ruled in the Pacific. And hell, this thing was the ace maker. This thing was absolutely a monster of an airplane. It was ahead of its time, and then it wasn't. You see, the big thing when it comes to the Japanese is everyone forgets that the main reason Japan lost the war in general was because it did not have enough resources or manpower to fight a prolonged active war against the U.S. That was the ultimate demise of this fighter. The reason that it couldn't get updated, and the fact is, there were variants that could match the American F-6Fs and Corsairs, but they couldn't make them. They couldn't make these fighters in the amount they needed or in the variants they needed to keep up with the Americans. That was the downfall of the Zero. It wasn't the fact that it was a crappy aircraft, it's just they could not update it. They could not modernize it, they could not make it a better plane. It was great for its time period, but in the end, it could not match up with what the Americans were putting out. They could not keep up with our methods of production or replace the men they'd lost. It was a losing battle the second Midway was decided. And even then, this thing was still the king of the skies, and we still beat it. Through basically just sheer determination, a whole lot of luck, and a whole lot of planning, and the fact that we were reading the Japanese mail. So, yeah. But aside from that, it's still a beautiful fighter. And the ones that are still around, from all, sources I've read, this thing is still a joy to fly. It's fun to fly. It's a very delicate yet very nimble aircraft. It is this thing is a thoroughbred horse. It's very fragile, but it is built for speed. And it is truly a great fighter. It still deserves some love. So yeah, the A6M, definitely worthy of my number 5 spot. Now let's talk about number 4. Oh yeah, baby, I brought the whistling death. This is the F4U Corsair. Oh god, how I love this airplane. How I love this fucking fighter. Why? Because this is the epitome of the little fighter plane that could. When this first came out, nobody fucking wanted it. The Navy didn't want it. The Air Force didn't want. The Army Air Corps at the time didn't want it. Why? Oh, it's too big. Oh, it can't land on carriers. Well, we're building a couple hundred of these. Who's gonna take them? The Marine Corps over there. We'll take them. And they fell in love with this plane because it could do everything for the Marine Corps. Close air support, which is what is the Marine Corps' bread and butter. This plane excelled in it. With its 650 cals, loads of rockets and bombs, this thing was deadly. It was an absolute monster of an airplane. Literally, this plane was beautiful. And you can't get a nickname like the Whistling Death and not be freaking awesome. So this plane made its name with the fucking Marine Corps, with famous squadrons like, how about the most famous? The fucking Black Sheep, led by none other than fucking Pappy Boyington. This fucking monster of a machine. Love her. Love her. And plus, she didn't stop after World War II. She's like, I'm going to go kick shit. I'm going to go kick the shit out of commies in Korea. And even there it excelled. The only thing that stopped this plane was the jet age. That was the only thing. And it didn't even stop after that. It's still flying to this day in air races. Everybody loves the F4U. It is literally the quintessential American fighter, and god damn it, I love this plane. Oh, I wish they had more of these babies. But now, let's talk about number 3. Now I know again what a lot of people are thinking. Really? The P-40? Really? Well, there's a reason for that. Number 1, it's the fucking P-40. It is a legendary aircraft. I mean, seriously, this plane is the epitome of what American, just plain tenacity is. And it's so fucking epic. I mean, and for its time, it was a heavily armed aircraft. It was our first real inline engine fighter, which was really, really freaking cool. But not only that, it was also one of the first ones we put up that actually had built-in 50 cals. Up to then, we were still mainly putting 30 cals in fighters. But we had started really developing and putting in more and more 50 cals in our aircraft. And the P-40 was the first one to be purpose-built with quite a lot of 50 cals in it. Now, why is it here, though? Well, mainly also because, it did everything, and it really went everywhere and was used by almost everyone. The Brits used it, the Chinese used it, the Soviets used it, the French used it. Everybody fucking used this plane. I mean, and the most obvious, literally some of the most badass men flew this plane. In, of course, the most legendary squadron that ever fucking existed, the Flying Tigers, which were the first group of Americans to volunteer to go over into China and fight the Japanese, which is fucking incredible. So yeah, this plane saw service literally everywhere. The Pacific, Europe, Africa, the Asian theaters, the sub-Asian theaters in India. It fought everywhere. It did everything. It may not be the best aircraft, but it was there when we needed it, and it did its job, and it did it for America. And you know what? You gotta love it. You gotta love it. I mean, it's the P-40. This is the plane that really helped America get into the war. And not only that, it helped our allies stay in as well. She's a good plane. But now, we're getting into the big numbers. Number 2. Well, one of these had to end up on my list. And, I think I picked a pretty good one. This is the FW190. Now, what do I love about this plane? Well, literally almost everything, aside from where it came from. So, what makes this plane fucking great in my opinion? Well, simply put, it was simple. It was an easy plane. It was literally, so many fucking aces love this plane. And when the Allies got their hands on a few of them, they loved them too. They were simple. They were easy. They were fun to fly. They were armed to the literal teeth. I'm not even joking. This thing, and in the early days, it had two 7.62 machine guns in the nose cowling, and two 20 millimeters in the wing roots. But that's how it started. It got worse. It got way fucking worse. Simply put, they put everything on this thing. You want the 13 millimeter machine guns? They put that in the cowling in place of the 7.92s. Oh, 220 millimeters not enough for you? Well, how about we add another set of 20 millimeters? Yeah, they had 4 20-millimeter cannons. Oh, if that's not enough for you? Well, we built some gun pods. We'll put 2 20 millimeters in those, so you have a total of 6 20-millimeter cannons in this thing. Oh, that's not enough? You need to use it to take out tanks and other stuff? No problem. We'll put some 250-kilogram bombs and a 500-kilogram bomb under the center point. Also, why not, put rockets on this thing? Oh, are ships giving you a problem? Oh, not a problem. We'll put a torpedo under this thing. This plane was everything, and I freaking love this plane. I love my little FW190. And the crazy fact, they're still making these things today. Yes, there is a company in the world right now that is building these things to almost an exact replica. Except for the engine, because that thing is old, and not a lot of people, for some reason, like using radial engines. Don't know why. But yeah, the FW190, truly a real workhorse, a really good fighter. God, if I actually did end up getting my pilot's license, I would want one of these babies. Oh yeah, the FW190, definitely worth my number 2 spot. Now, now the big question. If this was my number 2, what the hell's my number 1? I mean, come on. Are you serious? How could this not be? This, everyone, my favorite top 1 fighter in the war of World War II, the frickin' Spitfire. Not just for the memes, but seriously, this plane is my number 1 favorite fighter of World War II. Why? Oh, I'll tell you why. Without this fighter, we would have lost. Without this fighter at the forefront of the Battle of Britain, England would have fallen. Without England, there's no D-Day. Without D-Day, there is no opening up of the Western Front to push the Germans out of France and back over the Rhine. Without this fighter, the skies of London would have been swarmed with German bombers. Without this fighter and the men that flew her, without this airplane, there would have been no victory in World War II. It is a fantastic aircraft. Incredibly simple to learn to fly. Though you do need to learn how to basically handle these babies because they can be a bit temperamental. But when you know how to fly these babies, they are a dream. And they are also extremely armed to the teeth. Started out with 8 303 British machine guns. Then they swapped out a couple of those 303s for some 20mm cannons. And then eventually swapped out all the 303s for 50 cals. And then swapped out those 50 cals for another set of 20mm. And what could this plane do? Everything. Air superiority? You got it. Close air support? Yep. Fucking naval fighter? Oh yeah, it's got that. It's got that variant too. And this is just one variant. There were so many others using different types of engines, from Merlins to Griffins to who else knows what. These planes were everywhere, and they were loved. It is a smooth aircraft to fly. It is a beautiful aircraft to fly. It is a perfect aircraft to fly. These things are the premier fighter of World War II. This is the plane that truly says air supremacy. Without this plane, we wouldn't be here. None of this would happen. Without this plane, just like the Sherman, we wouldn't have brought victory in Europe. This is the plane that truly saved the world, and it truly deserves notice. This is the Spitfire, the greatest World War II fighter ever built. Well, that's all I got. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and hopefully soon I'll catch you in the next video when I cover, well, I think I'm going to do medium bombers next. So thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you all next time.